Alright, so this is the review here of a Sawstop industrial cabinet saw. This is the industrial version with a 5-horse motor and 52-inch fence right here. The fence is pretty slick. I really like it. It slides nicely. I need to adjust my table here up just a shade so it doesn't catch on there. There's a reason why it banged there. I could blow some of the dust off of it here. I'm just kind of finishing up a day of cabinet making out here, and yeah, I thought I would take a few minutes. I did a review on this a little while ago, and I think I was a little hard on it, so I'm kind of doing a another review here. Once again, there's the Sawstop ICS 5-horse. This is a single-phase version, and it has a 10-inch blade. And if you're not familiar with the Sawstop saw brakes, just pause and go look and see how they work. Basically, if you touch the blade while it's running, it shoots this piece of metal up into the blade, stops the blade, keeps you from losing your fingers, your hand, which is a pretty nice safety feature. In my last review, I didn't really mention that. Yeah, it uses either a blade guard like this with a splitter back there, or also a riving knife right there. Both of these mount back there, and it's really nice. It's toolless. All you do is pop one of the two in there, push it down. That's it. Really nice and easy. You are able to use it without that. In my last video, I said you weren't with certain blades. I have one Freud blade that, for whatever reason, you can not run this without. I didn't try playing around with the adjustment of the brake cartridge right here. This is the Allen that comes in it, or comes with the saw right there. You can adjust how far the brake cartridge is from the blade, and if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be a 1/16. I'd have to go back and look at that, and I didn't try playing with that to see if that was what was causing it, but for some reason, with one particular blade I have, it won't run with these out. Every other blade I have, it works just fine. So, yeah, anyway, changing the brake cartridge is pretty easy. You just pull this red pin right here, and then this just works off. Hopefully I can do this here without one-handed, without cutting myself. This is a really sharp blade. Oh, come on. Yeah, all my videos here are, ouch, see if I can raise this up a bit here, are completely unscripted and unrehearsed. So if something doesn't go right, I apologize. Well, I can't get that off there without cutting myself with that blade. They slide on and off relatively easily. I haven't had that one off in a while. This is the dado version here, and then that is the standard blade version. One thing I will say is if you change back and forth between dados and your standard blade a lot, it is a pain, and I really hate doing that. The zero clearance insert here, there is a separate one I have down here for the dado, which works really well. And it's nice. You can quickly and easily change your clearance inserts. There's no screws or anything required. It's completely toolless, which that's pretty nice. And then unlike, some saws, you don't have to jam a block of wood in here. There's a flat on the spindle where you just put your wrench on there and break it loose. I will say one thing. This is pretty much pushing it to get a 3/4 dado in here. You're not able to have this washer on the backside here when you have a 3/4 inch dado. I prefer to have threads showing on the nut here on the spindle, so that's the reason why I do it that way. But it is, bear in mind, there's a limited dado capacity with this saw. So one other thing to keep in mind, the up and down travel here is pretty smooth. Oh, right there it did it. In my last video, I couldn't get it to do that. Every once in a while, when it's cold, this one will squeak like that. There we go. Doesn't do it all the time, but anyway, yeah, so sometimes it does squeal. Mostly when it's cold, kind of first thing in the morning in the shop. And also this has been kept in a climate-controlled environment its entire life, so it's never been exposed to moisture. But it's a really nice, easy up and down, and the same with the tilt here. Nice, smooth, just the way it should be. 0 to 45. Let's see what else. 52-inch fence. The fence is pretty nice. It's relatively easily adjustable. I think I didn't realize this until after I did my last video, but there are Allens here for adjusting the fence. I didn't realize that, and so I monkeyed with the bar down here, which is bolted. Right there you can see some of the bolts. Bolted to the table saw with a piece of angle iron here. My saw came perfect right out of the shop. I've got a woodpecker gauge here, and it was accurate to within 0.02 of the miter slot, just taking it out of the crate. So really nice. You didn't have to monkey with the setup or anything. It does what it's supposed to do right out of the box, which I really like. I did also get it with the mobile base here, which, if I remember right, that was an extra couple $100. And the overarm dust collector here, right there, which runs down to the dust collection port on the bottom of the saw, which I can show you here. Right down there, and it just tees off. And I will say you really need a good, a fairly powerful dust collector with this. Right now my current system is a little inadequate for it. I have a 3-horse running into the separator, and then it's 4-inch and all this flex. I really need to get rid of that to actually adequately, pull the chips out of this. It works, but it's not the greatest. So I would recommend a really good dust collection setup for it. I guess you can kind of see the back of the saw here. Nice, outfeed or nice side table here. It's just, it's a really good quality saw. I can't really say anything bad about it in that regard. As you'll note, I have added on here an Excalibur Slider, which makes the saw much more versatile. I run a cabinet shop and do a lot of mill work, and this makes it really useful. Sort of my workflow most of the time is I will break stuff up with my Festool track saw, and then the smaller pieces I run on the table saw. Very rarely do I try and wrestle a full sheet of plywood onto this saw. Now I have modified my Excalibur here to where I can get a full 4 foot of crosscut. I don't think they come standard, at least this model doesn't. I kind of monkeyed with it and got it working. But to where you can actually crosscut, and that really kind of speeds up breaking up parts for large cabinet jobs. The saw is not cheap. It is, I think I paid right at $5,300 for this saw with tax. So they are definitely not a cheap saw by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination, but it does what it's supposed to do. I've had this one for a little over a year now. I've never had any problems with it. It has just done what it's supposed to, and the only thing is that annoying squeak once in a while when you raise and lower the blade. Other than that, the only thing I've had to do is just tweak the fence just a tiny bit. I mean, it was only off 35 thousandths, and that's it. It works. It's pretty much a daily use saw, and I just cannot complain about it. Plenty of power. With every blade I've tried in it, and pretty much every wood I've run through it. I've run 12-quarter poplar with a forest rip blade, and it pushes through that with no trouble at all. I also have run a power feeder on it. I have a 1/4 horse power feeder over there right now on my jointer. That when I do large lots of molding blanks, I'll joint them and then just rip them to width there, and it has no trouble keeping up with a power feeder. I mean, it goes. The 5-horse is plenty for pretty much anything I think anybody could possibly do with the 10-inch blade. Let's see what else. Workflow with it is not too bad. It's a cabinet saw. I think in my last video I was more critical of the Sawstop in particular. I kind of regret purchasing a cabinet saw in this point in my business. I would have been much better served with a sliding panel saw or a vertical panel saw. And now I don't really have the room in here for both of them. I think I'm in about 1,200 square feet, and this takes up a big chunk of real estate. So if you're looking to start building cabinets, I would look for probably, like a used sliding table saw rather than a cabinet saw. That would be my advice to anybody starting out, because it really is kind of the, it really does slow your workflow down. Now, that being said, I do really like having the Sawstop, especially when I have help in here. I don't have to worry about them losing fingers, maybe a few stitches here and there, but that's it. So that is pretty nice. Now, once I move into a larger building, which will hopefully be, next spring, I plan on keeping this saw, but then upgrading to either an Altendorf or, an SCMI sliding table, and just keeping this for breaking up, smaller, or, doing more furniture type work. If you're looking for a saw for breaking up, 4x8 sheet goods or 5x10 sheet goods, this is really... There are better alternatives out there. It's just, at least for me, if you have help, it might not be too bad. If you have two people trying to work sheet goods on a saw like this, it would be okay, especially if you're building face frame cabinets and can kind of hide any irregularities with a dadoed face frame. But this type saw, and now I'm in no way trying to, put down the Sawstop here, but, if you're looking for if you're looking to break up big sheet goods fast, this is not the type saw I would recommend. Another thing, this does not have scoring, whereas, if you get a big panel saw, it will have a scoring blade here that spins in the opposite direction of the main blade. I've been able to run melamine on this without too much trouble. I'm using a Forest Duraline high AT blade here, and, this pretty low clearance insert that came with it. So, if you do need to work with melamine with a saw, it works pretty well doing it that way. So, just one of those things. You got to make choices when you're buying equipment, and I kind of regret purchasing this saw. Not necessarily the saw, but I kind of regret purchasing it in the order I did. I think I would have been better served by a slider, and then purchasing this saw, for use when I have more help in the shop. So, kind of. Anyway, there's my 2 cents there to anybody that's looking to start a cabinet business. I can't say anything bad about it. It does what it's supposed to do. Only a weirdness is with one blade, it doesn't work. That's it. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It's a pretty expensive saw, so, that's one thing to keep in mind. It's nice and quiet also is another thing. It is a pretty quiet saw and plenty of power, so... Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. The overarm dust collector, I will say, you need a lot of suction on it. When I hook it up to my Festool vac over there on my CT36, there's almost no chips at all up here, no dust on the top. So I suspect if you have a really good dust collector, or like a 5 or 10 horse dust collector, you're probably not going to have any dust from it. I have very little dust with it with the overarm, in the dust collection setup I have, but it could definitely be improved. My dust collection setup could be improved. I suspect it'll work a lot better with a better dust collector. So anyway, if you're thinking about it, it gets the Darlingtonfarm thumbs up. I would buy it again. Not necessarily in the order I purchased the equipment, but yeah, I definitely like it. And I also give a plug out there to Winter Woodworking down in Indianapolis. Is where I purchased mine, and, they were good to deal with and whatnot. So anyway, yes, I'm Darlingtonfarm, and that's my Sawstop ICS, and thank you for watching.